Yo guys, we're back for the semifinals. This time we're playing against the Lost Angel. I think the Lost Angel is actually a regular on the stream. He often makes it to the last part of the tournaments that he is participating in, so he should be a decent player. As for his team, he has a Tyranitar, Milotic, Scizor, Garchomp, Alakazam, and Zapdos. Alakazam and Garchomp can be a huge threat to my team, because Garchomp could be a threat with Sword Stance, breaking my Milotic. Alakazam could run Energy Ball, which could threaten my Hippowdon and Milotic too. So I have to keep those two Pokemon healthy. And for the lead matchup, I decided to go for Fortress, because Fortress can pretty much set up hazards against Tyranitar, Milotic, Scizor, Zapdos, Alakazam. However, if he leads off with Garchomp, I have to switch out because he might run Fire Fang or Fire Blast. And I do not want to take that damage, because I want to keep my Fortress a bit healthy so that I can switch it into to Alakazam, so allowing me to bring in my Hippowdon healthy enough to check it. I also getting up the Stealth Rocks early pressures this Scizor to defog, which allows my Magnezone to trap it. And once Scizor is down, that means that I do not have to switch my Milotic into potential U-turns, because U-turn will kind of chip down my Milotic, and that makes it harder to check the Garchomp. So that is my game plan, leading off with the Fortress. For now, let's just start the game. I also told Crasher, that's the other guy that is commentating these battles, what my plan was in the early game, and he kind of agreed on it. But yeah, he does lead off with Garchomp, so I do not want to stay in. I'll just go into my Milotic, because I know I can pretty much take any unboosted attack from Garchomp. As he does go for the Fire Blast, which my Milotic eats up easily. Now, he's probably fearing the Scald, because he doesn't want to get Scald burned and doesn't want to take the damage. So I'm pretty sure he's actually gonna switch into his own Milotic, hoping for the burn. I actually predict that and go into my Hippowdon, because I know that Milotic isn't very likely to switch out against a Hippowdon, because nothing on his team doesn't really appreciate an Earthquake. He can bring in his Zapdos against an Earthquake, but Zapdos won't be able to touch my Hippowdon. So he's most likely gonna stay in with his own Milotic against my Hippowdon, as his Milotic does come out. So I will be able to get off a Toxic here. But yeah, that shiny Milotic is pretty sexy though. And that Bob Shop makes a lot of money, I think, from players. Yeah, I do get off the Toxic, he does Scald me, and he doesn't burn me. Get some leftovers recovery, and now I can just switch out into my own Milotic, because his Milotic is on a timer. So my Milotic can pretty much stall it out, and I can keep firing off Scalds, because his team doesn't appreciate switching into a Scald, besides Milotic of course, because Scizor, Tyranitar, and Garchomp don't appreciate a burn, and Zapdos also doesn't appreciate a burn, and Alakazam takes about 30% from a Scald, and getting damage on Alakazam is also really nice. But yeah, he does go for the Confuse way, which is interesting. I haven't seen it at all in P1, but yeah. And now I just fire off a Scald, even though I am confused. It doesn't matter. As you bring in Zapdos, and I do get my Scald off, but it doesn't do a lot of damage, which kind of tells me that this Zeptos is some sort of a bulky set, maybe max speed, max HP or something. But yeah, now I'll just go into my Hippowdon. I could have also gone into my fortress there, because maybe he could have packed Toxic. But yeah, he does go for the Hidden Power Ice and my Hippowdon eats it up. Now I can just slack off, because I need my Hippowdon healthy. So he's probably gonna switch into... He should probably switch into his own Milotic again and try to fire off a Scald again. But if he does that, I will actually go into my Milotic, because my Milotic doesn't mind getting burned. Or he should predict my slack off and go into Alakazam or something, but then again then I will be full HP, and then Earthquake will be able to get a kill on either Nidoking or Alakazam, or at least put Alakazam low and very low, about 5 to 10% of his health. But he actually goes into Scissor, and that's really interesting to me, because now I get slack off, and I know Scissor cannot touch me. He doesn't have a Sword Stance up, so he goes for the U-turn, as I'll go for Earthquake again. As he brings in his Garchomp. Now, let's take a look at this damage. That's about 25%, 25 to 30%. And Earthquake on a Jolly max speed, max attack Garchomp is actually about 35 to 40%. But this only does 25 to 30%, and he actually shows leftovers. In most occasions, you never bring in your Garchomp against an Hippowdon, especially when you know he has Toxic. So I'm pretty sure this is a impish max defense Garchomp, and because Stealth Rocks is not in the game, I think he actually has Toxic. That's why I make the switch into my Crobat, because why else would you bring in a Garchomp against an Hippowdon who has Toxic and is around full health? So I do go into my Crobat as he goes for the Toxic. Here his reaction.
I can't even handle this. This is so confusing.
Okay. Now I know he has Toxic, and he probably has Earthquake too. So I'm pretty sure he's a physical defensive Garchomp. So that means Dragon Claw won't do a lot to me. He also has Fire Blast, which doesn't do a lot to me either. But yeah, here I just go for the U-turn, because Fire Blast doesn't do anything to me. And Earthquake and Toxic don't do anything against my Crobat. So I just go into Milotic, just in case maybe he goes for Earthquake, who knows. But he actually goes for Dragon Tail, and now I know his moveset. So I know that my Crobat can beat this Garchomp 1v1. So I can just spam Brave Bird. He doesn't have Rocky Helmet, so I can actually make this play. If he had Rocky Helmet, I wouldn't have made this play, because every hit would have chipped 30% of my health, plus recoil from Brave Bird. But yeah, he doesn't have Rocky Helmet because it's not in the game, so I can make this play. Keep going for Brave Bird as he goes for Toxic again. Now he is below half, and I know Dragon Tail won't do a lot to me, and Fire Blast also won't do a lot to me, because this Crobat is very bulky with max HP. So I can just go for Brave Bird.
Is it actually a hidden ability? I don't see. Where does it say it's
And yeah, it's a hidden ability, because when my Crobat attacked him, it actually said my Crobat got hurt, and then I also lost recall from Brave Bird. So it's a hidden ability, Impish, a guard jump, which is really rare, really rare. So once Rocky Helmet comes out, that things actually will be a lot of money. But yeah, here I decided to switch out, because just look at the situation. I can probably kill him with Brave Bird, but that would put my Crobat very low. Probably around Stealth Rock range. And I want to keep him above Stealth Rock range, just in case maybe Tyranitar will be able to get up his Stealth Rocks. And I still need this Crobat to check the Alakazam, because Crobat outspeeds Alakazam. And if I roost here, he might predict me to roost and go for Earthquake. Then my Crobat just dies. So here I'm actually gonna make a safe play into my Milotic. I know he doesn't have Sword Stance. He doesn't have Sword Stance, so he can't break my Milotic. So I bring in my Milotic. He goes for Earthquake, and that does about 40% maybe less. And here I can actually go for Recover. I know he has Toxic, but I do not really mind being Toxic right now. Because I know my Hippowdon can still wall out his Milotic. If maybe my Milotic dies for any reason or something, maybe I make a bad play or something, then my Hippowdon will still be able to stall out this Milotic. Because Scald plus Burn does around 40%, and I can just keep healing with leftovers. After leftovers it will only do about 35%, I think. But yeah, here I'm just definitely gonna roost there, because I do want to keep this Milotic healthy so that it could still kinda check the Alakazam if something happens to my Hippowdon. Yeah, I really don't mind the Toxic here. He does go for Toxic and he misses, which kinda helps me, but I really didn't mind it. And now I actually got locked off. So the computer actually picked a move for me. And I didn't know which move at the time because I was locked off. Yeah, I said it. Internet problems, getting back, lol.
Good idea.
I'm auto locked off. So I was locked off, but I couldn't log in because the message was that I was already logged in. But I actually picked Ice Beam. So the computer killed this guard jump and not me. And I gotta kill him. Watch these reactions. I was like, did I get a kill?
Yeah, you got a
fuck?
kill. What the fuck? That moment when
now he brings in his Alakazam. I know I can take a hit, but I do not want to take a hit now. I can just go into my Fortress, because that's why I have Fortress, to kind of sack for those things, so that I can bring in my Hippowdon safely.
Someone clip that actually.
It's actually that's so funny.
So my Fortress does come out as he goes for Grass Knot. So now I will be able to get off his free Stealth Rock.
If you log out, the game will just order click nurse to you.
When you get bodied by autoplay.
Just look, mom, no hands. Yeah, man, I made that play without hands. Damn. So talented. Yeah, I'll use Stealth Rocks, and he actually goes for Shadow Ball. And now I decided I could have actually put down a layer of spikes, But the only Pokemon that got affected was the Tyranitar, because Garchomp was already dead. Scizor is immune. Milotic was already poisoned, so I just decided to go for Gyro Ball. Maybe getting some damage on Alakazam, but he actually switches into his Tyranitar. Here I wasn't sure if he had Fire Blast, and I still wanted to save this Fortress to a potential sack against Alakazam. So I'll just go into my Hippowdon there. And again, he has no Earthquake switch in, so I can basically go for Earthquake here. He goes for the switch into Milotic, which is obvious, but I still get some nice damage. And now I can just bring in my own Milotic again, because he's poisoned. Like I keep telling you guys, Milotic beats Milotic 1v1 if the other one is poisoned. But yeah, he goes for the recover. And now I can just keep firing Scalds again, because nothing on his team appreciated Scald. And Stealth Rocks are also up. So if he switches now, something will lose a lot of health. And he cannot beat my Milotic, so in both scenarios he loses.
Why did I start? This is such a beautiful.
Okay, he switches out into his Zapdos. Look at the Stealth Rock damage.
I'm trying my best.
And now my Scald comes out. And I actually get the burn. And now Zapdos is forced to roost. Here I could keep firing off Scalds, but I want to keep my Milotic healthy, just in case I need to get a hit off on the Alakazam. So I'm actually gonna switch into Fortress here, because if he roosts now, I can actually Rapid Spin, giving my Crobat some breathing room. Or I could set up Toxic Spikes, but Rapid Spin is the play. But he actually doesn't roost. He goes for the Volt switch. So now this Zapdos is dead the next time it switches in. But yeah, he does go into Alakazam, and Alakazam gets a free hit off. He can go for the free Shadow Ball, he can go for the free Psychic. I do not want to bring in my Hippowdon, because I know he has Grass Knot. And I did the calc. Grass Knot does around 80 to 90% on average. So I know I can live a Grass Knot with Hippowdon. Yeah, so the plan is to sack my Fortress here, go into Crobat, U-turn, predicting the Tyranitar to come in, bring in a Medicham, and then sack my Crobat on the Alakazam, so that I can bring in my Hippowdon and press Earthquake. If I don't kill him, my Milotic will be healthy enough to take out the Alakazam. Then Magnezone pretty much kills the remaining 3 Pokemon on his team. Another play I could potentially make is to go directly into Hippowdon here, because Zapdos also dies to rocks. He has no Earthquake switch in, because then he has to bring Milotic again. But yeah, then if he brings Milotic again, then some mind games come to play again, because then I'm obviously gonna bring in my Milotic, and he might double switch into his Alakazam. So I think this is the right play to make, to go for U-turn here, because if he stays in, he's definitely in range of an Earthquake. Because Earthquake is actually a roll for me. If I get the roll, he dies, but if I don't get the roll, he only has like 10% maybe. I think less than 10% actually. No, he does bring in his Tyranitar as I U-turn out. So now I can bring in my Medicham. I do not have to risk the high jump kick, because Drain Punch would damage everything on his team. Alakazam will lose about 40 to 50%. Think maybe more. Because he really has low defense. Zapdos will die to rocks. Scissor will lose more than half of his health. And my Milotic will die to Thunder Punch or High Jump Kick after my Drain Punch. So he pretty much has to sack this Tyranitar because Stout Rocks are up, so my Crobat is dead. And Tyranitar is not gonna win against Milotic. Not gonna win against Medicham. Not gonna win against Hippowdon, and not gonna win against Magnezone. So the play for him is to definitely sack this Tyranitar. So I just go for Drain Punch, get a bit of recovery back. And he actually had the Triple Berry there, but yeah, that doesn't matter. Now Alakazam comes in, and here I actually wanted to sack my Crobat to bring in my Hippowdon, but I actually get locked off again, disconnected again. I really had some internet problems in this game, which was really bad for me. So now the computer actually picks a move from me, which means my Medicham is going to stay in, which is again lol. The reactions. But yeah, I'm pretty sure Psychic also kills me, but he goes for Shadow Ball for the super effective hit. Can see. Yeah, he kills me with Shadow Ball. So now my Medicham dies. But yeah, I can still win this game because I can bring in my Hippowdon. Maybe I get the roll. And if I don't get the roll, I can kill him with my Milotic, because Milotic can also live a Grass Knot. Because Milotic is full HP. So he does go for the Grass Knot. It does a lot, but I was certain that it wouldn't kill. He just got the highest roll possible there. And I'm not even kidding. So someone actually did a calc here, but it's the wrong calc. Because I already made the calc, and the calculation said that I would live. Because my Hippowdon has 31 special defense IVs and it's max HP with a careful nature.
That clicked Earthquake, that would have been legendary, dude.
Alright, that's next turn. Who's bringing that Hippo? But yeah, now my Magnezone pretty much wins, because he can freely press T-Bolt on all members of his team. And even if he kills my Magnezone, my Milotic also wins, because Zapdos dies to rocks. And my Milotic can wall his Milotic. Watch this calc. He was calking the Hippowdon Smoke on set with mixed wall, but that is actually the wrong set. Let me show you the right set. This was the set with max HP and max special defense with a careful nature. Look, the max damage is 87.3. And I was definitely about 90 health. So I was certain that I lived. And he actually got the highest roll there. That was very interesting, but it wasn't even close. He could have only killed me if he got the crit there. But yeah, now the game is just over. I can just let my Hippowdon die and bring in my Magnezone. Press T-Bolt 3 times and win the game. Because now Scissor cannot switch, so I can bring in my Magnezone. Oh yeah, wait, he actually went for U-turn there. I thought he went for Bullet Punch. But again, it doesn't matter what he brings in, because Zapdos dies to rocks, and Milotic dies to T-Bolt from Magnezone. And he cannot bring in his Scissor, because Scissor will also die to it. And now, yeah, my opponent was just stalling, maybe. Stalling so that I maybe would disconnect or something. Desperate attempt there.
There's no other play. Look, you go watch. This Magnuson is absolutely.
Just watch the chat. It's so fucking entertaining. So Magnuson comes in,
Okay. Watch how quickly it's about to drop.
and I just press T-Bolt. And even if I get disconnected, my Magnuson is specs, so he can only press one move.
You ready, old boy?
So once I press T-Bolt now, I win the game.
But no, T-Ball is only, I think T-Ball is just, T-Ball.
That boy Mag is strong, definitely. That's why I'm always using it. Well, most of the times.
Let's see how hard it
Because it just fits on every team, pretty much.
kills this Militech. Time is now, boys. Time is now.
Here. The lost
We're onto our
angel waiting for Adinho to log off again. Time stalling. Kappa. But I already locked my move there. So T-Bolt comes out. And that's the game. Yeah, he's hoping for a DC.
Dude, no, that is, yeah,
Jesus, man.
it's over.
But yeah,
It's
that's
over.
how we win the
He's
game.
hoping for another DC, yeah. He's like, come on, if I just wait one more time. I honestly think the AI would beat him. I think the AI would honestly beat him at this point.
Zapdos dies to rocks here. And Scissor dies to T-Bolt after rocks. Even if it's a max HP Scissor.
This is like the first time it's been like.
And that's GG, guys.
Finals for like.
So I will end the video for now. And make sure to click the link for the final game.
Yeah.
The final game is actually a good game because it's against a guild member, or a guild mate actually, and he won the previous tournament. So he's definitely a good player.